Yay! Yeah.
Oh, Sonic, are you okay?
I'm recording. I'll show you after. What's up? So today's video, I wanna share on you know how we doing it. Big win yesterday. Patriots are looking great. Feels good to be, a New England fan. Celtics are looking good. I wish I would have brought my stand so I didn't have to hold this. Let me see if I can find an area where I can prop this phone up. I don't have to hold it. So, yeah, it's good to be a Celtics fan, a Patriots fan, all the above, Red Sox, all that. I don't really follow hockey like that, but, I'm going to always support the Bruins. I think I'm going to have to hold it. I don't see a spot where I can kind of prop the phone up. But, yeah, in today's video, I wanted to share the time that I think they're the red and yellow, or the red paper wasps down here in Central Florida. It gave me instant botox. So, yeah, I'm highly allergic to bee venom. I've always been allergic to bee venom. That's nothing new for me. But ever since I was a kid, anytime I got stung by a bee, I would swell up in that area. There was actually a time back in the 90s, I went to my first Red Sox game at Fenway, and this is when Mo Vaughn was their guy, where Mo Vaughn was the big poppy of that era. And so probably like 92, 93, 94-ish. I was about between 12 and 14. And the day before, I had got stung in the bee right here. Stung in the head by a bee right here. And it usually takes a while. I was at my brother's football game or something, and I fell into like a nest. I've never experienced the My Girl incident where, I forget his name, Macaulay Culkin's character died from it, but I've never stumbled upon a bee's nest and got stung by multiple bees at a certain time either. So
It's not fair. Nothing happens to boys.
who's to say? I don't carry an EpiPen. I ordered one, I just never picked it up, so I got to do better. There's definitely areas in my life that I'm trying to work on and get better at, and not think I'm like, oh, I'm a man, I don't need to. No, I just left the doctors right now. That's going to be another video sharing about the health journey. But yeah, I got stung by a bee when I was younger, and we were going to Fenway the next day. I woke up in the morning, and I didn't realize it, but I walked downstairs, and my dad was like, whoa! And I guess it swelled up so much that all this fat came up, and it covered my eye. So, like, I had all this fat hanging over my eye, only could see out of one eye. And I didn't realize it. I was just waking up and walking downstairs. So we go to Fenway, and, I just used to just take Benadryl. Take some Benadryl, and after a while it would go away, and, and that would be the end of it. So we go to Fenway, and at the time, my dad's girlfriend, her grandfather came from, they were from Canada, and he was in a wheelchair. So we go to Fenway, and my dad's pushing her grandfather in a wheelchair, and then he got me with this fat hanging over her eye. So it looked like he worked for like one of those disability places. Like he was the worker and we were the patients. So we always get a crack out of it. I've got stung in the arm. It looked like Popeye. So in this instance, I was working for H.R. Ewell, delivering corn syrup, high fructose syrup. They used to deliver molasses, and it was all food grade tanker. Out of we used to pull out of Cocoa, Florida, and it was a normal day. I've done this stop a million times. I was headed to Tampa, to the Coca-Cola plant in Tampa, to drop off a load, and they used to have this ladder system. So for the ladder system, it was like a cage to help. It was like fall prevention. So when you're on top of the tanker, because you had to open the dome lid, so on the top of these tanks, to vent. If you didn't vent the tank as you're, sucking out the product, it could eventually create a vacuum and it could crush the tank. So you would vent the tank from the top. You'd open the dome. So in certain locations, they had these cages that would, you would park the truck and it would be like where the dome was. So when you're up there, you wouldn't fall. It's all, for protection, liability, insurance, all that. It's all safety. So I like this stop too because it used to be challenging to back in. All the drivers would be like, trying to get it in one shot because it was a really tight, sight side backing. I wish I had more pictures. I apologize. I like to show pictures. I like to show evidence. I don't want to just be on here talking and, I just try to give evidence, because the internet is full of people that just say stuff just to say things. And I don't want to be categorized as one of those type of people. That's why I put these, when I'm saying something, I kind of add things to the video just to verify what I'm saying. Just so if anybody ever wanted to call me out or this and that, I have as much evidence as I can. That's neither here nor there. So I get there. I think I've only backed in once or twice without pulling up. So, because it was difficult. It was a tight spot. And you have to like back up, not hit the fence, not hit the ladder system, get it in there. So I get it in one day, normal day. I've climbed the ladder a million times, not a million times, that's an exaggeration, but I climbed the ladder and I was in a position, like a lot of things stay the same. So, if your truck is parked in a certain position, you're good. I felt like I was a little off that day, but I was being lazy. And complacency and lazy can lead to, things. So, always just take the extra step. And instead of trying to move the truck, because I get up to the top and I couldn't get the dome lid open, I would keep like a little sledgehammer with me, and you would bang the dog ears off the top, and you put your B screen in. So as I'm trying to lift the lid, the cage, the way that the trailer was positioned, the lid was getting hung up on the cage. So instead of moving the truck, there was a thing that you could roll up and lift the cage up. It was on it had a handle on like a pulley system type thing that you would crank it and it would go up or down depending on what you needed it to do. Sorry, there's a bug on the screen. And so instead of moving the truck, I was like, I'm just gonna raise it up. If I raise up the cage, then I can open the lid, no problem. So I'm raising it, and it felt like it was getting stuck because I never raised it before. Every other time I would position the tanker, and it was always to where the lid was never getting hung up, but this particular day it got hung up. So I'm like, so I'm banging, and the crank, the handle for the system, it's like something was getting stuck, and I realized it was like a pin or something that was stopping it from going, because I went up, checked, and it was still like it needed a little bit more. So as I'm banging it with the little sledgehammer that I had, I finally got the pin to release, and as soon as I got the pin to release, that wasp flew around. So unbeknownst to me, there was a little nest, like a small little nest of like 3 or 4 of them on the other side of the ladder. And if you don't bother them, they typically won't bother you, because I deal with a lot of wasps now. In the dome lids, when I open the lids, I've seen nests of 15, and they're just kind of not bothering you until I like rattle the tank or something. I freeze them, or I use my bee spray now, because I'm not trying to get stung, but at that moment I didn't realize there was a nest. So I agitated the nest, and they get aggressive at that point. Typically they'll leave you alone if you leave them alone, but since I rattled their nest, they came to check. Well, one of them came to check, and when he flew around, it was like he looked dead at me, and he stung me, boom, right in the lip. So I'm running around the parking lot at this time, like wailing my arms, screaming, like, oh, because like, with regular bees, once they sting you, the stinger comes out. With hornets and wasps and other things, they can just repeatedly sting you. So this dude stung me like 3 times. It was like he was stuck on my lip. Like I could feel him. And like I'm trying to wave, but I got the hammer in my hand. So like as I'm waving, thank God I didn't knock myself in the head and like, hurt, and really hurt myself. So as I'm running through the parking lot, he finally gets off, and I start to calm down. I start to realize because at this time I still have to get the dome lid open, because this was a particular account that they used their pump, because we had our own pumps on the truck for like if we need to pump it ourselves. And this particular account, they had a pump inside their facility, so he was already pumping. So I had to get that dome lid open. Even though they just started, I would have had time. But if I didn't get that dome lid open, one, it would make the unloading process a lot slower. And two, if it got to the point where it was empty, it could then I had a phone call. Hopefully I don't mess it up. It could then mess up the tank. If it creates that vacuum, it could crush it like a can. So I knew I had to get that dome lid open. So I get up there. Like I said, I had already cranked it. I remember I got that success. Yes! As soon as I said yes and it cranked up, like, because it only needed a little bit more at that point, that's when he came around and he stung me. So it started off little, but I know now, because I know I'm about to get like a reaction, because I know I'm allergic to bees. And that's what happened. I called the dude at the time, because I had we had all these processors and quality control people's numbers. Hey, I'm on the way, have the gate open, blah, blah. You build these relationships with your receivers. And so I called them. I was like, hey, I just got stung by a bee, can you come out? Because I didn't have any, like, normally I have everything. I keep my lunch bag, has everything in it: Tums, Tylenol, gum, floss, Benadryl, anything that I need. Like if I'm in a first aid kit, I keep everything with me. I've learned that in my trucking career, especially being over the road. I keep everything in my truck for emergencies. So I at that moment, I didn't have the Benadryl with me for whatever reason. And so I'm asking if they had any, and they couldn't. Even if they did, they weren't, as a facility, weren't allowed to like hand out medication and stuff like that. So I had to sit there, and that account is a slow account. Like, it pumps super slow. So they had already started. He brings me into the break room, and I have a picture of that. Like, you could see it starting to like swell up a little bit. And then as soon as I got into the truck, like, it just, I had full on botox. Like, I just went to Dr. Miami or something and got some injections, and trying to beautify myself. But the scariest part wasn't, because it's not like I've never been stung before and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? It was like the lip was getting so big, it was starting to curl up into my nose. So I had to start breathing out of my mouth. And then you start to panic a little bit, because now I'm there, and that unloading process usually takes 45 minutes on a good day. If whatever reason he has to shut it down because the tanks inside are too full, or whatever the case may be, then we have to stop the pumping process. So thank God at that moment, guys, come on. If you see him doing that, Micaiah, stop doing it. Sorry. So at that moment, the tanks were empty enough that we could get the whole truckload off, and he understood, and he wished he could do more. He did the best he could. He kept checking on me, making sure I was good, brought me cold water, and I was just sitting there like, dang, I still got to drive all the way back to Cocoa. But first, I got to find a place that sells Benadryl, because I got to start, the process of correcting, the venom and everything else. So I'm sitting in the truck, and at first I was starting to panic a little bit, because, now I'm breathing out of my mouth, and then I'm thinking, like, in my head, other scenarios. What if it would have stung me in my tongue, and my tongue started to swell up? Like, so I slowly just calmed myself down, and there was nothing I could do but just sit there. So I took pictures and just, like, just to send to the family and post on Facebook at the time. And that's another thing, like, a lot of the pictures that I had of more trucking things, or just things in general, I had on Facebook, and what I would do after it was posted, I would delete the pictures. So I can only grab what I have out of my archive, but I wish I wouldn't have done that, because I'm the type that once I have space starting to like get limited, I'll just go through and start deleting things. I'm like, I don't ever need this. I never thought I was going to create a YouTube channel and thought that I was going to be like putting old footage and old pictures and stuff like that. So, my apologies on that end, that I wish I would have been more mindful of keeping the pictures and the videos. I had a lot more of Over the Road and of like Yule, all the trucking companies that I work for. I had pictures of all of it. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore because I just used to post to the Facebook and then delete the pictures out of my gallery afterwards. But yeah, that was the story of that the red wasp coming out, hitting me in my mouth. I joked the next time I went, I asked if I could get the security footage because, I'm sure it was hilarious, me running around the parking lot wailing, and they don't see anything, but there's a bee attached or a wasp attached to my lip. But yeah, that was a funny moment that I can look back now. It wasn't super funny at the time, and I'm glad I didn't hit myself in the head with the sledgehammer and caused other damage or anything like that. But definitely when you're out there, if you have certain things, like I know I'm allergic to bees, so I make sure I keep Benadryl with me in the truck. I'm gonna order my EpiPen again just to have it, because who knows what would happen if I got stung multiple times. What if all 4 of those, because they ended up coming out with some bee spray and killing them, and there was 4 wasps on the nest, so that's how I knew there was that many at the end. But what if all 4 came out and stung me? Who knows what the result would have been? You know what I mean? So it's just being mindful. Our life is precious. Life is short. Some don't make it to some of the ages, of you watching. If you're, in your 40s, 50s, 60s, that's a blessing. Because how many do we know that don't even make it out of their teens, don't even make it out of their 20s? Some don't even make it past the womb, you know what I mean? So, we definitely got to count our blessings, got to be appreciative and grateful for the time that we do have on this earth. And, I'm really trying to correct steps that I can do. The same thing that happened with the Air Force, like I wasn't going to get denied if it was something that I could prevent. I got denied because it was out of my hands at that point. I don't want to shorten my life knowing that I have the ability and the control now to fix certain things or just be wise about certain things. And, if I know that I'm allergic to bees and there's bees where I work now, a whole bunch of them in certain locations, I got to be wise to know that I have the right precautions to take. And, don't be like a he-man. Like, some of us men, especially the men, we have so much pride. We got to get past that point in our life that pride can lead us to do dumb things or make dumb decisions. And, I want to be around for my family. I want to be around for my kids. As you can see, my boy, little Shiloh, the youngest. Then you got Micaiah. And then my oldest, the one, his video y'all just saw, of Bree, and even though she's not my blood daughter, that's my daughter. I hate saying she's my step, but that's just to give the backstory. But that's baby girl. That's my daughter, man. She's taught me so much on how to be a dad. I wouldn't be able to raise them the way they needed to be if it wasn't for her first. So big shout out to her. But yeah, I'm trying to be around for them, man. And I hope that that's what you guys are trying to do. Hopefully that you guys, baby steps lead to easier, strides. And that's all I'm doing, is just taking the baby steps, the necessary things to be around, to be here as long as I can possibly. When it's my time, it's my time. But I do believe that there's a work for me to do. I do believe that, it's not time for me to go. So I'm not trying to make it easier either. I'm not just like, I know I'm allergic to bees. That's just a scenario. Just be reckless and careless when I'm around them. You know what I mean? I got to be cautious and I got to be wise, and I got to make sure that I have some things in place that if I do get stung, that, I can rectify it and offset, the venom. So whatever it is for you guys, whatever you're going through, whatever your situation may be, man, like, just take it serious. You know what I mean? Just take it serious. Take the pressure off of things. But just really reflect and be mindful that, that people, you know, want you around, that people, you know, are in your corner, even if they don't say it, you know, like if you were to be gone, you know, whose lives would you affect? That's how I try to look at it, man. And I'm always like, hopefully that I'm building a good legacy. I'm hopefully that these boys, you know, are looking at their dad and my daughter, you know, like that. Hopefully my daughter one day will want to marry somebody, not saying like me, but maybe has some of my qualities. Maybe there's some things that she admires about, you know, me being her dad, that she wants to find in someone else. Not everything, you know, because maybe not everything is something that's pleasing, the when you have to, you know, scold them or discipline them, or, you know what I mean. But maybe there's other good qualities, and I'm hoping the same for my boys, that, you know, when they look for their mates one day, that they can find similar qualities of their mom, because she's a great mom, a great wife. So and eventually you know, we're gonna get her on the channel, and, you know, I think you guys would like her a lot more than this guy right here. You know what I mean? But no, we just, you know, I just wanted to share that story. You know, I'm trying to just think of videos to create, and slowly introducing the family. You know, I didn't want to just overwhelm them or overwhelm the channel with, you know, like exploiting the kids and this and that. But, you know, little by little, in an appropriate way, I just want to start introducing the family, because this is, you know, on my Mondays, I try to do stuff with my boys as much as I can. We homeschool, you know, so that's for another video. You know, my wife could, you know, elaborate more on that. She's the bigger, you know, participant of that adventure, you know, and that's new for us. You know, we weren't homeschooled kids. You know, this is a new thing. That it's not a new thing, but it's starting to get more popular. But yeah, so, you know, I'm just out here with the boys. The sun is coming out. Shiloh, say what up. Come over here. Say what up. Hello. Micaiah, say what's up.
What's up?
That's Micaiah's surprises.
Hi.
So we're going to finish it off right there. Hope y'all enjoyed. Hope y'all get some laughs, because the pictures are going to be funny. And until the next video, man, I think the next one I'm going to drop is going to be on the health. So hopefully that will encourage and inspire y'all to, you know, take it serious, and to rearrange and organize some things in your life to, you know, if your health is, you know, not the best, then it's time to work on it. And, you know, I just got my results back today, just came back. So, you know, I'll post those on the next video, and I got some more work to do. I got to get back to exercising. You know, I'm not far from the goal I want to reach, but, you know, the more that I just procrastinate and not do it, then, you know, that goal is just going to continue to get further and further away. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate all y'all showing love. That's all I'm going to ask. I'm not going to ask for the typical YouTube stuff. If y'all like the videos, then show love. If, you know, if you just click on for a quick minute, I appreciate it. Every click, you know, I appreciate all that. You know what I mean? I'm just here, you know, kind of doing this as a hobby and a way to vent and to let things out, and just, you know, I'm enjoying it. So, you know, I do appreciate the love, the comments. Please comment if y'all want, though, for real. Like, let's talk, let's chat about anything. You know, there may be things that I've experienced in life and I haven't shared yet, or you guys, you know, trucking, or what's the next part of the journey, or fatherhood, or marriage, or whatever, man. Like, you know, I'm here for it all. So please, just, that's the only thing I will say. Let's communicate through the comments. Let's, you know, I do appreciate the ones that have, and the new subscribers. I appreciate all that. It's all love. So until the next video, y'all be blessed, you know, and enjoy your life. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.